So, good afternoon, everyone. Uh, we are done with the introductory to sociological theories, introductory to, you can say that the concept as well as the methods that deals with sociological theory approaches as well as methodology. Now we'll be starting your unit number 1. So in today's lecture, we are going to discuss your unit number 1 and we are going to cover the subunit society. Please remember that today we are going to understand, we are going to conceptualize first what is society, how society is related to law. That also we will discuss because being a law student, you have to keep in your mind that whenever you are relating or understanding any particular concept from any pre-law subject like history, economics, political science, you have to relate with law. So please keep in your mind that society as a topic becomes very important in sociology as well as in law. Because when we have to understand any particular, you can say that article of the Indian Constitution or any IPC, then we have to go back to the society. We have to relate. We have to relate with the context. So context becomes very important. So when you are studying law in India, means you should be clear with the Indian society first. You should be clear with the various rules and regulations, various laws, various, you can say that amendments deals with law or legal systems. So please keep in your mind that this topic is very important from sociological point of view or from legal point of view. That you have to keep in your mind. So the topic is society. uh, so does it really matters for law? So you have to keep in your mind that you have to question yourself that why we are studying law, society, why, how you are relating society with law. So therefore, first I will tell you the objectives of today's lecture, what we are going to do, and you should be very much clear that in today's lecture what we are going to do. So let me show you the objectives of today's lecture. These are the objectives of today's lecture. Look at the objectives of today's lecture. Number one is to discuss the concept, and meaning of society. So we will be understanding, we will be, you can say that conceptualizing, we will be explaining what society stands for, how to understand society, and how to relate society with the Indian society. What are the different phases of society? That we will brief about. I will brief you about that particular context. Number two is that to understand the nature. Nature in simple terms means we're talking about like a kind of like classification. We are talking about description of the society. We are talking about identity of the particular term. So that I will also discuss with you. Number three is to discuss the various definitions. So already we are done with the sociology, the various definitions given by various sociological thinkers. And these all sociological thinkers or theories becomes very important in sociological jurisprudence when we are trying to understand the practice of law. So please keep that in your mind. But at the same time, now if we are talking about society, means you should be clear with the concept and context. Concept means society, context means we are talking about Indian society first. Let me show you the first slide of today's lecture. First we will discuss your this what we are going to discuss in this particular lecture. Later on we will be having discussion as well as a debate on the previous lecture that already we are done with. So look at the first slide, the concept of society, a brief overview. So let me tell you one thing that if you are understanding Indian society or our society as a whole, please keep in your mind that you should be clear with the history. You should be clear with the historical context. Because if you look at your law also, when you will be relating your law with the history, for example, how law came into existence, how law has been evolved over a period of time. So you should be clear with the history. Historical part becomes very, very important when you are dealing with law, you are dealing with sociology. So number one is pre-agricultural society. So let me tell you one thing about pre-agricultural society. Then you have to relate pre-agricultural society before the Indus Valley civilization. So before Indus Valley civilization, there were many other civilizations like Saraswati civilization, but To make your study more systematic as well as scientific, you can start with Indus Valley Civilization, means 3000 BCE to 1000 BCE. So please keep that particular period in your mind. Number two is agricultural society. When we're talking about agricultural society, means we're talking about agriculture production. And that period also becomes very important during Indus Valley Civilization. Because when we are trying to understand the concept of society, then the concept of law as well as civilization becomes very important. Am I clear? So when we are talking about society, then you should be clear with the other concept also, like how society is related with law in different periods of history, how society is related with civilization in different periods of history. Civilization means you can start with Indus Valley Civilization. So the historical knowledge becomes very important when you have to conceptualize what exactly is your society, how to understand society from socio-historical or philosophical context. So that means when you are going to understand your law, for example, from socio-political historical context, then you should be clear with the sociological interpretation or sociological context of the understanding of society. Look at society first. Pre-agriculture society means you have to go back to before Indus Valley Civilization. Agriculture society means I'm talking about the agriculture period that started in India. Number three, post-agriculture society means I'm talking about industrial phase during British rule. That you have to keep in your mind also. When British came to India, the whole period from 1600 to 1947. So you should be clear with the period, the different periods, the various social legislation related to these industries, related to various kinds of infrastructure development. So please keep in your mind that you should be clear with the framework. Whenever you are going to understand any particular topic, you should be clear with the framework, how you're going to understand a particular topic. For example, we're talking about society. So the concept means you should be clear with pre-agriculture, means I'm talking about before Indus Valley Civilization. I'm talking about hunting and gathering. If I relate Indian society or hunting and gathering society with the theories given by Karl Marx, because Karl Marx was talking about hunting and gathering in ancient society. So basically, I'm talking about ancient society in India, means before civilization, before the beginning of civilization. Agriculture means I'm talking about civilized society. I'm talking about civilization because people were trying to understand what exactly agriculture, because there was reciprocity over there. Third is industrial phase, means you have to particularly focus on British India. You have to particularly focus on this particular period, 600 to 1947. Fourth point is very important, the concept of private property. And there is one important book written by Frederick Engels, The Origin of the Family, Private Property and the State. The book has been published in the year 1884. This book is very much relevant when you have to understand what exactly private property stands for. Please remember, private property means I'm talking about ownership. I'm talking about, you can say that you can relate with capitalism also. You can relate with land. You can relate with various kinds of properties, wealth. So please keep in your mind that what is this all, how you can relate this concept in the Indian context. So usually we start from British India. We start with the British India. We start with the various, you can say that land rights were there, and therefore we start from there. So, but when we have to understand society as a whole, you have to go back to the 15th and 16th century. That already I have discussed with you of the European context when there was going on Enlightenment movement. Number 6 was relationship between individual and society. Please keep in your mind that, for example, these are individuals, and how these individuals are related to each other. Please remember how these individuals are related to each other. So you have to understand that how society plays a very important, a very meaningful role in our life. How society shapes our personality, how society socializes us. So that you have to keep in your mind that what is this socialization all about? What is this family all about? So in this particular point, relationship between individual and society, there is a great relationship between individual and society. You can understand without society we cannot exist. So we have to understand our existence also. So that you have to keep in your mind that both are interrelated, interdependent to each other. So society cannot exist without individuals. Individuals cannot exist without society. So both are interrelated, interdependent. Number 6, man depends on society. Of course, man depends on society. Look at your life, observe your life, take your case study, understand your life from birth to till today, and understand the different phases of history. Who are the people who socialized you? Who are the people who still are socializing you? Look at your college education also. College education you can take as a kind of socialization process. Clear? So society means I'm talking about social relationships that I will discuss with you in the next slide. Then we're talking about modern and post-modern society. Modern society means what? Modern means I'm talking about infrastructure. I'm talking about scientific advancement. I'm talking about industrial revolution. I'm talking about various kinds of technological innovation development. That you should be clear. And postmodern means I'm talking about a kind of approach, a kind of, you can say, the idea where they are posing a question to the scientific community. They're saying that whatever you're doing, that's not accurate. They are posing question to the scientific principles or scientific methodology. So postmodernity as a thought, we have to understand also, because when we are dealing with law, for example, if you look at caste system in India, still caste exists in our society, and that's a practical social reality. If you go back to the history and philosophy of this system, you can trace the roots of caste system to from Indus Valley, from post-Vedic period, when we have to conceptualize the entire structure of caste system in India. Then you can relate with Varna system. So that means that caste was there in ancient India, medieval India, and caste still exists in our modern societies. So therefore, when postmodern thinkers, they're trying to understand the context, and they're posing, they're raising various concerns for caste discrimination in India, and they're asking for social justice, and they're saying that if you're talking about a scientific world where everybody is equal, so then why the discrimination is happening in our society? Why the discrimination is going on against women? Why the discrimination is going on against, you can say that, various kinds of variables. It can be on the basis of gender, on the basis of caste, class, region, or language. So therefore they're saying that science is not accurate. Science is just to experiment, just for observation. So there are many subjective experiences that needs to be understood. So please keep in your mind that postmodern society means it's a thought process now. Modern means we are living in modern society. We are understanding different kinds of infrastructure development. Now, if you look at your classroom also, how we are connecting with each other, it's due to technology. So that we have to understand. Technology means a kind of modern tool. So technology, you can find the merits and demerits of technology also. That you have to keep in your mind. So I think I'm clear to you about how modern, what is modern and what is postmodern. If there will be any doubt, please write in the chat box. I will respond. Number 2, please note down the points also. Number 1 means you should be clear with the concept. You have to write the concept of society. Number 2 means etymological meaning. What is etymology? Please write down in the chat box. Already we have discussed in the classroom. What is etymology? What is etymology? Etymology, I'm giving you 30 seconds. Please write in the chat box, what is etymology? Okay. So etymology deals with the study of words. Words. शब्द बोलते हैं जिनको हम, शब्द. Different words like society, your community, your communalism, your secularism. Different concept that we are studying. So etymology deals with the study of words and their origins. So therefore, when we have to understand society, we should be clear with the etymological meaning of society. And this becomes very important when you will be explaining the meaning of society. So etymological meaning of the word society means the word has been derived from Latin word socius. Socius also means societas, which means companionship, associate, or sociability. Sociability means I'm talking about sociable or social. So this is all about that. This particular etymology clearly states that how we are socially connected, how we are socially interconnected, and how we are socially related. So this is all about understanding the meaning of the word social. What is social? What is social all about? How to become social? How to become anti-social? So that you have to keep in mind, anti-social and social. So that you have to keep in mind that socialization plays a very important role in our life. Now move to the next slide. I think you're clear with the etymology. It's a simple that you have to understand. Meaning is very important. See, when we have to understand meaning, you have to relate with law, because we are dealing with both law and sociology. So society means what? Look at your sociology. What sociology stands for? Sociology as a discipline deals with the study of society in a systematic and scientific manner. Deals with the study of society means deals with the study of society. So society becomes the subject matter of sociological research. Society becomes the subject matter of legal research. So please keep in your mind that society is one of the most basic or fundamental concept in sociology and law. Whenever you will be understanding any particular section, then you have to relate with society. Obviously, you have to relate with society. So whatever you are understanding or whatever you will be understanding in your legal studies or law, that you have to obviously you have to relate with the context. Context means society. So society as a concept becomes very important to understand, conceptualize. Uh, and if you look at society means, I'm talking about a kind of, you can say that a group of people who are living in a particular area. There might be a geographical area or there might not be a geographical area. So there can be many kinds of societies. There can be urban society, there can be rural society, there can be industrial society, there can be, you can say that, religious society. You also can make one society of from your class also, but there should be meaningful interactions. Now if you look at your class, you don't, most of you don't know each other. But once the offline classes will start, definitely you will be interacting with each other. So you need a space to interact with each other. And society means, I'm talking about meaningful interaction only when you are interacting with the other fellow being. So society is abstract, like sociology, like your law. Society is also abstract. It's not concrete. It's abstract. It's very vast. So in society, if I talk about society, then just please keep in mind that I'm talking about so many kinds of societies. You can talk of, you can say that, tribal societies. You can talk of, you can say that, societies based on religion, caste, gender. So that you have to keep in your mind. So in society we're talking about, we are including your communities, we are including your associations, you can say that, social groups. So society as a sociological concept or legal concept becomes very important for proper understanding of your, you can say that, your curriculum also. So please keep in mind that whatever you'll be reading in your pre-law subject, or whatever you'll be reading, studying when you'll be promoted to your like next semesters, please keep in your mind that this particular topic will help you everywhere. So for example, when you talk to your father, so please, or your mother, you'll be talking about society only. You'll be talking, you are talking about your friends, talking about your, you can say, relatives, talking about your, you can say that, or any kind of issues that are happening on society. For example, now there are issues going on in Maharashtra. If you look at suicide case, which is related to Republic TV, Arnab Goswami. So that means, sure, I'm sure that you are going through that particular case also. You are understanding that particular case. You are relating with the history also, because the case, the suicide happened in, I think, 2018. And please keep in your mind that sociological knowledge becomes very important for legal studies. So that you have to keep in your mind. The cooperation, the cooperative society, there is cooperative society, agriculture society, the friendly society, rural, urban. So that you have to keep in your mind. There can be many kinds of societies. It depends upon you how you're going to understand. There can be thousands of societies, and there can be you can say that thousands of communities in our society. So that you have to keep in your mind that our society is not concrete or specific or particularistic. It's a it's a you can say that it's a abstract, it's a vast. So we have to keep that vastness in our mind. We have to keep that wide phenomena in our mind. We have to keep that abstract phenomena in our mind. So that is all about meaning. Let me show you one picture. The next picture. This is the picture. Look at the people. They are talking to each other. Um, they might be friends. They might be relatives. They might be, you can say that, they might be doing job in one particular organization. So it can be anything. So society means I'm talking about a group of people. So society, when we have to understand society, so we have to keep in your mind that there will be some people that we are going to understand. Group of people who share the common culture. So culture becomes very important when we have to understand society. Culture means what? Culture is it's created by us. That you have to keep in mind. Culture can be material, culture can be non-material. What is material culture? Material culture means technology can be one kind of culture, which we can see, which we can feel, which we can touch. Technology can be one kind of culture. So technology doesn't mean that we're talking about tools and techniques. Social media also promotes one kind of culture. So that means that every technology comes with a culture. If you look at anything that promotes a particular culture, if you look at any brand that promotes a particular culture, so there can be material culture, there can be non-material culture. Material culture means which we can see, which you can see, you can feel, you can touch. But non-material culture means which you cannot feel, you cannot touch. For example, God. For example, supernatural things. That you have to keep in your mind that how you are understanding, how you are relating material with non-material. What's the functioning of religion in our society? Why we are talking about secularism? So that you have to relate. If you understand each and every social institution, that plays a very significant role in our society. And you need a specific territorial area. It can be Delhi, it can be your Chandigarh, it can be Himachal, it can be, you can say that Rajasthan, it can be northeastern societies. So societies can be anything and feel themselves to constitute a unified and distinct society. Distinct means I'm talking about if you look at southern society, Tamil society, or Kannada society. So that you have to keep in your mind that uh, what exactly society stands for. What's the meaning of society? I hope you're clear with the meaning. Now I will move to the next slide, and that is about nature. And this is very interesting. And I think why this is interesting because I'm talking about nature. I'm talking about classification. I'm talking about description. I'm talking about identity of this particular world. So when I'm talking about nature of society, look at the words, 5 words: social structure, social relationships, 3 I's that I will discuss: subject matter of sociology, important concept for law. Look at social structure. What is social structure? Social structure means I'm talking about your society. I'm talking about the different parts of societies, and societies consist of your like family, marriage, kinship, various kinds of rules and regulations in all the social institutions. Just imagine that, just observe that, just understand that. Social structure means I'm talking about I'm just making the entire structure of society. It can be your different institutions, it can be your religious institution, it can be your economic institution, it can be your political institution. So that you have to keep in your mind that social structure means I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about rules and regulations. I'm talking about norms. Norms means standard guidelines that are there in your family also. How you're talking to your father, why you're giving respect to your elders or your father, your mother. So that means there are certain norms. So you can relate these norms, rules, and regulation with law also. How these norms and values that exist in our society are helping our legal institutions. So that becomes very important. Social relationship, it's very important term. Social relationship means we are talking about how different institutions, it can be your, you can say that kinship, Kinship means I'm talking about relationships. How you are related to your father or mother. So that you have to understand from your father's side, various kinds of relationship from your mother's side also. So that a kind of, you can say that's the kind of structure that you can prepare, kinship structure. So that we will discuss when we will be understanding when we will be going through your number 2. So social relationship means we are talking about the whole kind of relationship, or the relationship between different social institutions. We are talking about different institutions. First, we are understanding different social institutions. It can be your economic institution, it can be political. So just try to understand, imagine what is social relationship. Then we have to understand the different social institutions. We have to understand the structure of social institutions. If you look at family means I'm talking about joint family, I'm talking about nuclear family, I'm talking about extended family, I'm talking about father, I'm talking about grandfather. So that you should be clear with, that how different relationship plays a major role in our society. So that you can read the history also, because earlier you can find more joint families, but now we can find more nuclear families or extended families. So 3 I's, and this is very important. Please tell me that 3 I's. Is this visible to you? Is this clear to you? Aman, please tell me. Are you reading it? Okay, fine, thank you. So please keep in your mind that what is 3 I's? 3 I's. I'm talking about 3 I's. Please remember, please keep in your mind that when we have to understand the concept of society, then 3 I's becomes very important. Clear? So 3 I's means I'm talking about number 1. I'm talking about interaction. I'm talking about interactions. Number 2, I'm talking about interrelations. Number 3, I'm talking about interdependences. Okay. So please look at these 3 words. I. So we are talking about 3 I's. I, I. So when when we understand these 3 I's, you will be clear with the concept and context of society. Interactions means I'm talking about interaction between friends, interaction between family members, interaction between religious institutions or members of religious institutions, interaction between state and center government. So I'm talking about interaction only. When you're traveling, you're talking to someone. That can be one kind of interaction. Interaction means interaction can be anything. Okay. Number 2 is that interaction can be individual to individual. Individual to individual. Interaction can be individual to group. Interaction can be group to group. Interaction can be, please understand, interaction can be individual to individual. Interaction can happen between uh, individual to group or group to group. So that you have to keep in mind that interaction means I'm talking about just interactions, just interaction. You are interacting with somebody on various basis. Um, so number 2 is interrelations. So we have to understand the same picture. So now make the same picture. So what does this particular word mean? What's the meaning of the word interrelations? Means how these are interrelated. So you're talking about interrelations. You're making a kind of meaningful interactions. How these things are interrelated. Interrelation means consider this as a economic institutions, consider this as a religious institutions, consider this as a political institutions, how these different social institutions are interrelated. Or take example of your family and look at, for example, this is you, father, your mother, our sister, how you people are interrelated to each other. Means there will be a there is a relationship but like sister, brother and sister, father and daughter, a mother and daughter. There is a kind of meaning, there is a kind of meaning, a kind of meaningful relationship between you and your father, and that is acceptable by the society. Means society means I'm talking about three eyes. Three eyes means I'm talking about interaction. Interaction, you have to observe that interaction can happen anytime between any social institution. Interrelation means I'm talking about how different social institutions or individuals, they are interrelated and they are making society more meaningful. Interdependence means I'm talking about the same different things, but I'm making a structure. See, this is kind like you have to put it like this. I'm making like this kind of arrows. How one social institution takes the help of another social institution. Look at your economic institutions. Economic institution help your studies, help your family institutions. Look at the importance of wealth. Look at the importance of religious institutions. Institutions help us to become more good human beings. That you have to keep in your mind also. Number three is that when we're talking about education as a social institutions, so education shapes our personality. Education awares us about what is this world, how to understand this world, what is this global society. So education is for awareness, it's for enlightenment also, but you have to understand how different institutions are, they take the help of another social institutions when they have to make, or they have to make the purpose of society more meaningful. So that you have to keep in mind three eyes. Are you clear with the three eyes? Interaction means interaction between individual and individual. Interrelation means I'm talking about how you are connected with your father, your mother, your sister, your grandfather. So that you have to understand how you're connected. Interdependence means how one institution is, they have dependency on another. Interdependent, they're interdependent. They have some kind of, you can say that one institution, for example, if you look at demonetization in India, take example of demonetization. So just understand that when we are talking about demonetization, then our family, religious, as well as all the other institutions that have been affected due to one particular decision. So that we have to keep in mind that that particular decision was related to the economic institution, and this particular decision has affected the entire your social system. Look at your COVID-19 or lockdown. COVID-19 you can take as a, you can say that a kind of change, and how this particular change has affected our entire life, our different social institutions. Look at your education now, how we are talking to each other through online mode. So that you have to understand the change. You have to understand interdependency also. So therefore, every institution, it's a kind of interdependent to each other. So if you harm any one social institution, another automatically get harmed. So that you have to keep in mind that every institution becomes very important for society. Religion also becomes very important for society. And there are various thoughts and theories on religion, which you can relate with law also, when we have to deal with Article 25 to Article 28 of the Indian Constitution, that clearly defines your religion. So that you have to keep in your mind that which articles deals with religion, which articles deals with your family, fundamental rights, fundamental duties. So that is related to law. But when you have to deal with sociology, you should be clear with the concept first. Then you can relate with the law. I think you're clear with the three eyes now. Interaction means interaction between people, friends, or whatever, or interaction between you and me now through technology. That can be one kind of interaction. Interrelation means we are talking about interrelation. We are talking about different social institutions, how they are interrelated to each other. Interdependence means I'm talking about how they're dependent to each other. So I think you are clear with the structure. Now I will move to next subject matter of sociology. So very simple. Society as a concept becomes the subject matter of sociology, or as well as the subject matter of law. So this concept is very important, very significant in sociological literature, in legal studies. Important concept for law. Of course, this is very important concept for law. If you understand your society, Indian society more carefully, this will help you in legal studies. For example, when you will be dealing with Hindu law or family law, this particular knowledge becomes very important, significant there to understand what is family, what is the structure of family, what are the different laws that deals with family, related to marriage. Hindu Marriage Act is there. So that you should be clear with different kinds of like um, you can say that structure of that particular institution, as well as the social changes, as well as you can relate with the law also. So please keep in your mind that you should be first clear with the concept of society. So you have to understand these 5 important points when you have to understand the nature. So let me move to the next slide. Come to the definitions. So we have 3 definitions, very important definitions. And if I talk about the number 1 definitions, it's uh, it's McIver. He was an American sociologist, and according to McIver, society is a web of social relationship. Society is a web of social relationship. Means this is your society. Consider this is your society. Web, W-E-B, web means I'm talking about jal, a kind of jal. See, it's a kind of web. So just imagine about just or understand this particular word. What is web? Web means I'm talking about various kinds of interconnections, various kinds of interdependencies, various kinds of interrelations that exist in a society. And without these interrelations, interconnectedness, or interactions, the society cannot exist. So all these interactions, all these interrelations becomes very important for the sustenance or the survival of the society. So remember, please take you as a case study and observe that how you are related to different social institutions. So you look at yourself also, how you're related to political institutions. I think um, uh, look at your like voting rights also. Look at your like fundamental rights also. So how you're related to constitutions, how your life is related to, you can say that different social institutions like religious or culture, or you can say that political, economic. So that kind of, you can say, the paradigm you have to develop when you have to understand sociology as well as law. So this becomes very important when we have to understand society according to McIver. Society is a web of social relationship. According to, so you can make this diagram also when when you'll be writing your answers. Number 2 is Professor Gidding, American sociologist. So he's talking about society is the union itself, the organization, the sum of formal relations in which associating individuals are bound together. So look at your life, how you're bound to your family, how you're bound to different social institutions. So that you have to keep in your mind. That how our life is bound to some particular institutions. And union means I'm talking about group. So group can be your different social institutions. Maurice Ginsburg, British sociologist, our society is a collection of individuals. Means, look at Indian society, look at the population of India, look at the different cultures of India, look at your religions, look at your different laws. So that kind of diversity, that kind of context you have to keep in your mind when you will be understanding society. I think it's a very simple concept. You just have to remember the definition now, but for your knowledge, you can understand. You can go through. You can say that the concept as well as the context. So first, you should be clear with the concept. Number 2, context means when you will be relating with the Indian society, then you should be very much clear that what is Indian society, what are the different religions of India, what are the different cultures of India. So you should be clear with that. Our society is the collection of individuals united by certain relations. Means how you are related to your you can say your family. So that you have to keep in your mind that how you're talking to, how you are related to your friends, relatives. So that's the kind of meaningful relations that you have to understand, that in certain relations there is a relationship based on blood. There are certain relations which are based on marriage. And so therefore we are talking about biological mother, we're talking about social mother. So that kind of relationship, that becomes very important when we have to understand certain relations of modes of behavior which mock them off from others who do not enter into these relations, or who differ from them in behavior. So we have different societies, means there can be northeastern society, there can be southern society, there can be Punjabi society, there can be Himachali society, there can be Rajasthani society. So that kind of context you should be clear with. So Ginsburg is talking about the same.